Hi, welcome back. It's time for a little bit of Parsha today. It's the fast of Esther, and this evening will be Purim. I'm wearing my special Purim kippah. We're reading Tetzaveh on Shabbat, the Parsha for this week, and also reading Megillat Esther both this evening and tomorrow morning, celebrating the crazy festival of Purim. I just wanted to draw attention to two different aspects of this week's Parsha. The first is just the intricacy with which we are dealing with in relation to the perhaps slightly mundane versions of what it is to build and create Aaron's clothes, the Big Day Kodesh that Aaron wears, the high priest wears in entering the Mishkan, the holy mobile sanctuary that travels with the children of Israel in the desert, and then becomes the plans that also formulate how the temple will be created. It says here there'll be on the breastplate that Aaron wears, there'll be 12 different stones, 4 rows of 12 different stones. You've got carnelian, chrysolite, emerald, turquoise, sapphire, amethyst, jacinth, agate, crystal, beryl, lapis lazuli, and jasper. I hope I pronounced those okay. 12 different stones. And it just begins to articulate, for those reading the Parsha this week, the level of detail and the level of beauty which is invested and put into the way that the high priest's garments are made. And it's quite a dry Parsha. I don't necessarily know what to do with that information, only to say that in part it draws us in to consider how we dress, how we present to the world. We live in a society, at least where I live right now, where fashion sense and dress has become a lot more informal across the years. And we often talk to our need to spend less and worry less about how we dress, perhaps. And yet, this is drawing us in and saying, for special occasions and for moments of pomp and ceremony and of religious importance, it's actually important and crucial to pay great attention to the way we dress in order to make the occasion, in order for it to make it feel special. When we learned in our Parsha class yesterday, somebody mentioned it's like Aaron is getting dressed up like a bride or a bridegroom for a wedding. He's being drawn in with so much pomp and ceremony in the way that he dresses in order to make that moment feel special. The other aspect here, the second aspect here, the first aspect is beauty, the second aspect is history. In relation to these stones which are spoken about in the breastplate that Aaron will wear when he goes into the Holy of Holies, the sacred sanctuary at the center of the Mishkan, he's told that each of the stones will also be engraved, or will be marked. And the 12 stones correspond to the 12 tribes, or the 12 brothers of Joseph, the 12 sons of the 11 brothers of Joseph, the 12 sons of Jacob. Each will be engraved. And so there's a moment here, Seforno alludes to it, that we should merit in every generation the story of our forebearers, the ones who came before us. And so woven into the fabric and woven into the clothing and the decoration for the high priest is also this sense of history, this sense of where this people has come from. And that's probably harder to achieve. That's not just about dressing nice. That's also about, in the way that we practice, recalling in very clear terms where our history lies, who we are as a people, who we are as any people. Carrying history and learning the lessons of history is a crucial aspect of being human. And then we come to how those two aspects interact. In relation to this week's Parsha, we have the Urim and Tumim, which are these two stones which somehow, between the history and the beauty, invoke some kind of magic which allow Aaron the high priest to deliberate and to pray on behalf of the people in a way that's beyond just the pomp and ceremony of the occasion, but actually is an invoking of some kind of energy through the dress and the clothes that he wears. I want to do that for Purim this year then. I want to say that there's something about both of those aspects in the Megillah. The Megillah also articulates the pomp and the ceremony and the luxury of the house of King Ahasuerus, and the way in which Esther sits for 12 months in oils and perfumes in order to prepare to see the king. Those aspects are also there in the story. And I guess for those dressing up tonight, we make believe. By dressing up, we also make believe. So in the same way that we might dress up as Haman or Mordechai or Esther this evening, and in some way or other transport ourselves from here, Finchley, or wherever you might be in the world, and find ourselves somewhere else by way of the attention that we pay to the way that we dress, that's Purim. And exactly the same moment, we do that through beautifying ourselves or through making fancy dress. We say fancy dress here. And also at the same moment, we do it in connection with our history. Because of course, Megillah is the story of, maybe a fable more than a story, the story of Mordechai, Esther, Ahasuerus, Haman, these characters who frame a particular story and a particular risk and potential tragedy for the Jews that's then reversed and turned on its head. And we transport ourselves also into that history or into that story, where we embrace and embody the possibility, for good and for bad, that our lives can invert, be turned on their heads at any point. And we celebrate that. We celebrate the craziness of that reality. A reality that at any moment our lives can be turned on their heads. And that's part of our story. That's part of the story of every human being. That's part of the story, certainly, of the Jewish people. There are two parts that I'm trying to speak to today. One is about how we relate to beauty and the way that we dress and the way that we invest, relate, and think about how we present ourselves in the world. Sometimes we dismiss those things. I think Parshat Tetzaveh and the Megillah of Esther are asking ourselves in some small way to draw attention to that, be more conscious of it and how it affects us, our world, and our spiritual practice. The second part is our history, which is never far from the mind of the Jewish spirit. That we think about how we invoke, just like those stones engraved in with the names of the 12 tribes, the 12 sons. That we think about our history interacts with our day-to-day, with our practice, with our desires, with our beliefs, with our journeys. And from those two places comes this little spark of magic. A little spark of magic which allows us to deliberate, allows us to see our journey and the possibilities for, please God, great celebration in this time of Adar, this time of Purim, this time of festivities which begin this evening. Wish you well. Tell me, really love hearing about what you think of my Parsha videos. Really love sharing thoughts, ideas, questions. Get back to me and let me know how you're getting on. Thanks.